This video is brought to you by Artistworks. Artistworks are part of True5 Studios, and they offer direct access to master musicians through their innovative online learning platform. Partnering with iconic musicians, they've crafted decades of industry experience into guided paths of online lessons. Crucially, there's an option to get personal feedback tailored specific to your playing via their unique video exchange. Get direct guidance towards your playing goals. You can use the code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of Artistworks courses.
Been asked a couple of times by folks in various places, like, could I check out some of the Katana stuff and maybe do another video with the Katana if I was up for it. If you're not aware, Boss have actually sent me bits of gear to do tones for the tone exchange, the Boss tone exchange. This won't be going on there because it's using the sneaky amp stuff, so I'm not sure if they particularly approve of that, but I thought it was worth saying up front that I didn't pay for this actual Katana. I did buy the Katana Mark II, I believe, which was the first kind of time experiencing the Boss Katana. I bought that soon after buying the Catalyst, just so that I had a point of reference. So basically the Katana's been sat over there, and I had an idea today that I just wanted to get the Katana out. The speaker cab that I'm using with this is the Artist head, which has a few key differences, but I think the core kind of models and tones are exactly the same. I'm using a Mesa Boogie open back cabinet with an Electro Voice EVM 12 speaker in it. And the only other thing I've got here is the foot switch. First of all, I kind of plugged it in and I remembered some of these tones, or I didn't remember them, but these are tones that I dialed in using the sneaky amps. Now, if you're not aware of sneaky amps, there's the Katana Mark II effects floorboard for Katana 100 Mark II. Basically what this is a way for you to interface with your, if I could do this backwards, with your Katana and kind of get access to these things that you may not have been aware were actually part of it. I have done a video on this, and there are other videos on YouTube about the sneaky amps, but essentially you have access to way more amps than the 10 that are on the front here. It's a bit puzzling that they left these out in some ways. Basically, this is running off GT kind of software, I believe is the way that it's working. So for my drive tones here, I'm using a Marshall 1959, and then for my cleans, I'm actually using a Clean Twin, which is obviously a Fender Twin. So the first goal was to try and just get something that was inspiring to play. And I very quickly found that the things that I dialed in previously were already really fun to play. And so from that, I kind of thought, well, actually, this could replace a pedal board and an amp. So I've been going back and forth with various rigs at the moment. I'm a modeler guy generally, but I have been going back to try some pedals with amps and sort of a hybrid setup. And I was thinking, is this like the only amp that you might actually need, the cheapest way into a legitimately giggable and pretty pro sounding thing, and very practical, very cheap? So let me just show you these tones, and maybe you can make your own kind of judgments based on that. So the function band that I'm playing in, we have like a variety of stuff from kind of, you know, the typical Bruno Marsy bits and pieces and kind of contemporary pop. I say contemporary, it's not that contemporary anymore. And then, you know, the latter half of the set, or the second set, is more kind of rock-based stuff. So I've kind of dialed in these clean. So that's Fender Twin. I'm finding that to be a little bit thin. So let's just jump in here quickly and just up the bass a little bit and maybe the mids a bit. So what I've done there, taking the bass to 73. I might also go into the compressor and just take that down a bit. It's kind of a bit aggressive. And then I've got another here. So this is kind of my... another bit which I could use for, say, Shut Up and Dance, for example, might be exactly what I programmed this for. And then from there, so that covers most of my things. I can go in and add things like a phaser. Or a blues driver. So I can have some different shades there, or, you know, I could have all of that stuff on the drive or delay channel as well. Okay, and then I've got a kind of chunky... So that could do my rhythm tones, and yeah, then aside from that, I just dialed in a lead tone, which is where basically all of this started. And what I really liked about this, I can turn off my boost, which is an MXR Distortion Plus. So that's kind of got me thinking like I could totally gig that, and I've got this one other thing that I put here on the sneak amps. This is a matchless type tone. With this foot switch, I really just can get in and turn off the delay and reverb if I need. And what's the upshot of that? I think really what that has totally shown to me is that I don't know why we don't see more of this. The only people that I can find examples of that have actually used the Boss Katana that are artists tend to be from YouTube in general, and I'm presuming are getting sent this gear for free, much like me. However, I know David Beebe gigged a Katana, but he used it as like a clean pedal platform. He used a pedal board in front of it. To me, it seems like this is a super functional way that you could 100% get through a thing. And I don't know why, like if I was traveling around doing gigs, fly rigs and all that sort of stuff, this could totally be like a serviceable backline type setup. And all you'd have to do is just load your presets in. There'd be like no guessing game whatsoever. To me, it seems like this is an underrated potential use for the Katana. I know there's probably going to be a few of you watching this that are going to be like, I've been doing this for years. Like, if you are one of those people, let me know. These are the best selling amps in the world. However, I also think they're super plentiful to find secondhand as well. But to me, it seems this is a really good tool for doing this kind of job, you know, where you've got to need access to a bunch of different sounds. It's simple, it's lightweight, easy piece of gear to use. Particularly if you're using this kind of third-party software, but also it's doing things that none of my tube amps can do. I couldn't do this with any of my other amps. You know, I've tried that Fender Tone Master, and that's just a clean amp essentially. The Catalyst can do some of these things, but it doesn't have the ability to have as many effects on or off at the same time, or that kind of granularity where you can just get in and change as you're going. So, I don't know, there's nothing to me that seems quite as practical as the Katana that has everything that you need built in except for a tuner. Let me know your thoughts on that. The other kind of cool thing that you could do, and this would be super affordable too, given that you can get these things for like £100, £150 used all the time, you could rig two of these together and have a really decent, I think, sounding stereo rig. Like, to me in the room when I'm playing with this, I'm not sure how it's going to come across on video, because it's always a little bit variable with that, and the mic positioning is going to be a factor. But you could 100%, you know, I think this competes with the tube amps that I've got. You know, I've sold 95% of every tube amp that I've ever owned. I've got a couple behind me still. So I've got the Matchless Lightning, which is just essentially a clean pedal platform that I use that for. But I can't get so much volume out of that before it starts to break up. So that's not necessarily the most versatile thing. I've got a Mesa Boogie Nomad here, which is a really cool little amp. And I've got a Fender Pro Reverb, which is currently being repaired. But again, that's just going to be a clean platform. So in terms of, I know there is sort of this attitude, and I share it, like these things cannot surely sound as good as a tube amp. And probably, maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is that for about 200 quid, you could get a thing that could, literally, you could take this out pubs, clubs, weddings, and get perfectly decent sounds, really good performance, easier than you can get with a lot of these other rigs that I've experienced. The other thing is you could use it, the power amp in, this could be your platform for amplifying something like your HX Stomp or your Fractal Audio. I know there are some people using it for that. I need to experiment with that more. But paired with a decent speaker, I think this stuff can sound really, really good. And surprisingly so. You know, I've plugged this in a few times, and each time it's like, well, that's absolutely could work. And I'm going to give it a go at some point, I think. Let me know if you're gigging a Katana or if you have gigged one. Maybe if you didn't like this, maybe if you went away from it, maybe you found it works for you, maybe you didn't. And if you want these presets, I'll chuck them up onto the Gumroad folder for the Katana, and this will be kind of my kind of gigging setup. I've just got them A, B, C, D, and yeah, it's as simple as it is. And you know, you could plug in out of this into the front of the desk. It's basically got pretty much everything covered except for a tuner, I think. Is there anything else that you'd need? Maybe pitch effects might be something that some of you might need. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But I'm thinking, like, if there was one amp, you know, it's not the sexiest choice and it's not the coolest choice, but in terms of practicality, I can't really think of much else that beats that at that price point. You know, a Mesa Boogie Road King even doesn't have as much versatility as that and has quite a dodgy sounding reverb. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Cheers.